who's ready to talk about a metric ton of comics here on Cantina Chronicles?
I am
more than ready.
Yeah, we got
the two goes out of the
some
bag. Let's do
catching up to do.
Oh man, so many comics. I
many.
I read half of these like 3 months ago, and then I just finished all the rest of them today. So they're fresh in the old minder.
Yeah, they're fresh. Yeah.
The Marvel Unlimited coming through.
Yeah.
Gotta say.
Yeah. So to get our listeners kind of up to speed, what we're doing here today is we like to cover everything, right? We talk about the series, the books, and the comics. And personally, I'm a huge comic reader. I was talking to Ben before we recorded. I literally read every Marvel comic that comes out every week. So I read them all anyway. But we like to cover them here and kind of catch people up, especially because of probably all of the areas of Star Wars. This is the one that I think probably people are least familiar with. And yet so much good work is being done in these comics and so much storytelling. And
good connective tissue, too. We put good synergy.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Luke's green crystal?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's happening.
Yeah. You ever wanted to know where the green crystal came from?
Even though I had
we got an answer for it.
I had a definitive headcanon that it totally violated, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Fair warning. If you are a person who lives in your headcanon, maybe don't read the comics.
Yeah. And you can keep those stories for yourself and whatever you want them to believe them.
Exactly.
Oh, Boba Fett's pretty true to the headcanon Boba Fett in the comics, though.
They are, but now it doesn't feel like Boba Fett when I read it because I'm like, this is not the book of Boba Fett that I was familiar with. But we'll get there.
Because he's like, yes, we should deny the spice trade in our district. Protect the civilians.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Really?
Yeah.
Captain Rex?
This Boba Fett? All right.
Yeah. Is that you, Commander Cody?
So weird that his helmet's off so much. Anyway, we'll talk about that. So a couple weeks back now, we covered Hidden Empire and the Sonostaros series and one other that's escaping my memory. Does either of you remember the third series we covered?
It wasn't a series. We did the Star Wars special thingy majiggy.
Oh, we did the Han Solo
Han
Chewbacca.
Solo
Right?
Chewbacca.
We finished up Han Solo Chewbacca.
Yeah,
the limited series. Yeah. So we're going to dive back into the main run. So for those of you unfamiliar, there are currently 4 ongoing series in Star Wars, which is Star Wars, self-titled, Dr. Aphra, Bounty Hunters, and Darth Vader. And we're going to get caught up to everything prior to the new miniseries event that's going on right now, which is called Dark Droids. We'll cover that once that's all done and available to everyone on Marvel Unlimited. So that's kind of what the plan is.
I love that plan. Yeah. Very, very well said. That's all those things. But yeah, I do adore these comics, and it's fun.
We're covering all the comics. I mean, if you want to know the comics, we're doing it. We're doing all the series today. Really, this is This is our big comics, corner episode.
Yeah, this is making me feel caught up. I've felt too detached from the comics. I really do love this story. This is one of the 4 legs of the table, I think, that holds up Star Wars, and I've just been missing it. And stoked to talk about it, stoked to read them. So so you said we're starting with Ms. Aphra, huh? Dr. Aphra, sorry.
Yeah, Doctor. I was about to say, come on now.
She earned that title.
We're gonna
Dr. Chelly Lorna Aphron.
Yeah, who is currently joining us on the podcast right now.
There she is on a jib arm.
Nice.
A jib arm. So Dr. Aphra, we're going to talk about issues 26-34. Listeners, don't worry. We're not going to talk about each individual issue. We're not going to be here for 3 hours. But we are going to talk about story arcs. So we have 2 kind of main story arcs in Dr. Aphra. The first is the conclusion to the Spark Eternal. We could talk about this very quickly. It was covered in Hidden Empire. Dr. Aphra possessed by
this is Sith alert. Epic lore.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I know, but it's
I was like, whoa, like Miriel, the Chadra fan, keeper of the Spark, like the first keeper of the Spark. Very cool character.
Yeah.
I love following that character in the sort of memory flashback sequences. Cool.
Yeah.
And then the Sith attack, like the Spark Eternal compound, basically the temple.
Mm-hmm.
It's all there in the pages. It's awesome. Like, check it out. Like, Aphra has some just.
You want to see a bunch of Sith and learn of like Sith. They actually have a little bit. I can't remember what they're called, but they're like there's like an arm of the Sith that are there to seek out
the Sith Dark
people who are.
I was like, oh
yeah, it's dark. Yeah, the Sith Dark Seekers.
Yeah.
It's lore, right? Again, what we love Dr. Aphra for, creating lore.
Are they just leaving like all of the like Sith army like era of like the Sith reign like in the shadows so that like they can just like do unlimited like cool ass like lore drops about them? Because it's like there's all like they can just keep pulling things out if they never structure it. They can keep being like, oh, and
well, when you talk about prestige TV and you talk about Aphra as a character, I think you have to do it now.
Yeah.
Before you go back and you really illuminate all those corners, right? Because if you would do an Aphra show now on Disney Plus, you can kind of allude to the great battles or allude to Sith marauders, wreaking havoc across the galaxy. You can go back to it.
Yeah.
But then when you see it in full, it might not be as dramatic. So I would do Aphra now. That'd be great.
Yeah, I agree. I'm getting nervous that we're not ever going to get Aphra anywhere outside the comics. It's really starting to make me very nervous.
It's a perfect Disney Plus show though. Like everything in this comic has been amazing so far. And all the romances and like this was probably the most I thought the most romances blossomed in one story arc in the comics. In this Aphra, I think arc we're reading now more than than most comics we've read. I mean, like there's so many cool sort of relationship beats that I think are explored perfectly, and I think like that's a core component to entertainment. And like, I would love that in a Disney Plus show.
Yeah,
I mean, in this one series or this one thing, you have two couples and a love triangle.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call them a throuple necessarily, but they're bordering on throuple territory.
Very cool.
Right? You got Aphra, Sanstars, and Tovin. Is that the name?
Magna-Tovin.
Magna-Tovin. Actually, I was thinking, where is Magna-Tovin like in other media? Like, she's so cool. She's a diehard rebel at this point. It's like she could wreck some stuff, and she looks like her character design is amazing. She would be such a cool character to like wrap into one of these stories.
Yeah,
assuming she survives, the attack of the Death Star and everything else. Like she could actually show up in the Mandoverse, and I think that would be pretty cool.
It would be. It's a great character design, super interesting character. Love a character that switches loyalties. Right, she starts out as a Imperial, ends up as a rebel. She has a really great turn. She doesn't, but some really interesting things happen with her in the Dark Droids series coming up. So we'll revisit her and maybe her fate. We shall see. I don't know. But,
that always happens to me.
But
I'm like, all this great stuff.
Worry,
I can't wait. And Adam's just biting his tongue over there.
No. I will say that she as of this month, she is, as of the last time I've seen her in a comic, she is technically alive.
Technically. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, you're welcome. No spoilers, though. We'll get there.
Right. Also very touching that all of Aphra's friends basically came to save her. Like that is such a fun story. I was like, this is great. Yeah. Like 8 people deep, all her best friends coming to save her, and like her dad.
Yeah, it's like 7 ladies and her dad.
Yeah, and this kind of drifts into the next arc.
Yeah,
to the beginning of the next arc, but she immediately does the Dr. Aphra thing where she just turns on all of them. Right, just cannot. I love her character because it's such a beautifully written character who just does not love herself and doesn't believe that she deserves to be loved, and then sabotages everything around her. And it's a tough character to read, but like, boy, does it make for really interesting.
She's the dumbest
story
genius
arcs
that she knows.
Yeah,
it's a great line.
Yeah.
Such a great line.
Yeah, I mean, echoing and hopefully not just repeating what you're saying, Grant. But if you were going to do a series, like it seems like she's vectoring towards her redemption arc, and it's like, why not just like throw some other big like event in there? Maybe it's
and the Luke adventure that happens after this arc.
But,
guys, can we get weird right now?
Yeah.
I'd
love to just have a comics cliffhanger and then like pick it up with a live action series to sort of round out her her story. I think that would be fun.
You can kind of end it in the comics in terms of like wrap up all the subplots, all of that. Leave her character around or possibly around, and then just pick her up straight in the shows, and reintroduce her. For people who don't read the comics, you could totally introduce that character.
Yeah,
you don't have to have a lot of baggage behind her like Ahsoka did, even though I think Ahsoka worked really well. Like I think you could really introduce that character without a lot of work for for anyone else, right? I just know, like, you introduce Dr. Aphra, I guarantee you that's my wife's favorite character in Star Wars ever.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I guarantee you.
Yeah, it would be so fun for comic fans. Yeah, and I feel like they'd need to do some sort of cliffhanger at the end of the comic where it's just like, Chelly Aphra will be back in the Dr. Aphra live action series or whatever. Dr. Aphra, whatever is the next big thing. Yeah. That would be fun.
It would be great.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I know a lot of people would.
Well, the whole the adventure with Luke feels like a one shot almost. Like I think Alyssa Wong gets knocked out of the park in terms of this is all I want to see on Disney Plus is like an awesome, like all these Luke side adventures with just like weird Easter egg characters and new characters. And this was a perfect Aphra adventure with Luke Skywalker.
And they and Sai, was it Spurrier? Did Spurrier start why am I getting names mixed up? Who started writing Dr. Aphra? I'm blanking on his name, but he kind of created her in the Star Wars main run. They spun her off into the comics. That's the other thing too, is like a fully comics-free character.
Yeah,
Gillen. Yes, thank you. Fully created. It's been around now. It keeps going. It's an ongoing series. It's longer than any other newly created character. And every time she interacts with a legacy character, and we'll talk about her again interacting with another legacy character later today, not just Luke. Yeah. It feels of the universe, of the galaxy, right? Like it doesn't feel like this weird added character. It doesn't feel like, I don't know, someone called, I don't know, Valance. We'll talk about it.
Guys, I'm taking the turn on Valance.
I actually kind of am. We'll talk.
You guys are soft.
What a weird role reversal! Finally, we find the thing that Ben is just like, no. This is my line and no further.
And who's from a mining colony and just grew up in the dirt? I love instantly.
Yeah.
Just like it works. I mean, unless you're Zarak Braff from Tall or whatever that mole creature was.
All right.
Oh right, right. From Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm like, sorry. I was like trying to like. It's so there's so many digs on Zach Braff that it took me a while to figure out. What are you digging on him now? And I'm like,
no shots.
Okay, it's from Obi-Wan. It's series appropriate or Star Wars appropriate. So let's talk about it. We've been kind of hitting around the second run or the second kind of series or arc, I should say, in Dr. Aphra is this what I call the Star Weird arc. Which is she's now Aphra's back Aphering, which is one of my favorite things. I mean, I will say the Spark Eternal, not my favorite arc because it's basically Dr. Aphra possessed, so you just don't get as much Dr. Aphra doing her thing, which is going after weird ass artifacts.
Right.
Yes.
Awesome weird artifacts in awesome weird places. And this was this temple was amazing. It looked like it was made out of cotton candy. And rock candy.
It was like pink crystalline walls.
Yeah, pink crystal, and then but like from above, it like looked like it was like cotton candy to me, and I was like, "What is going on?" But it was all pink crystal. But fantastic. Yeah,
just going. It's Dr. Aphra like almost trying to redeem herself a little bit, right? She knows of a place with what she thinks is a great Jedi artifact. Kidnaps Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Right.
Forces him
and
because
R2.
knowing that he needs to in R2. That's right, R2
stand out.
No one puts a restraining bolt on R2. It makes me angry every time I say restraining bolt on R2.
Yeah. She instantly puts the restraining bolt on R2.
Yeah.
He's a pretty mouthy little guy. I had to instantly
like real talk, but like cold. poor R2.
Yeah.
Man speaks the truth. I mean, the droid speaks the truth.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Not R2. What did he do to you?
Yeah, right.
I thought you'd be like besties with R2, honestly.
Yeah. And so one of my favorite twists about this, it's always a good twist, is that it's a garbled message. So she thinks that she's looking for a Jedi artifact when she actually discovers that this is a Jedi prison, basically, or it's for a really dangerous thing. And this is canon. This is a canon name. This is a canon name that also is canon in Legends, and we'll talk a little more about this in a second. A Star Weird.
There was a Star Weird in Legends?
Uh-huh.
Is it the same thing?
It is. It actually is. It looks very similar. There's a drawing of it. So just a little backstory. Star Weird comes from a source book. So basically for old school Star Wars role-playing adventures. It was an ultra powerful, like basically one of the, if you run into one of these things, you're toast, basically. Like you have to really roll very poorly to encounter one of these things. And is also mentioned in the Old Republic video, the MMO RPG that was out, or I guess still out. But I think only mentioned in that. But actually, it's just like you could, you could put one of these
kind of like
your
the angels
campaign.
from the moons of Aega or something. It's like it's like a celestial sort of like
so it exists in the vacuum of space, which is always fun.
Sure. Yeah. Which again, I just want to say, I always love when we recanonize things, and like good work for Alyssa Wong or I'm sure she's doing her work or whoever brought it to her attention, but just reading old Star Wars source books.
It's the best.
Like
troves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's throw this in here. Yeah.
Rad. Yeah. So Star Weird's awesome.
Shakti.
Oh yeah, Shakti and Isla Sakura, which is great to see them.
Yep.
And they fight that Star Weird in the temple, and it's super cool. Luke and Aphra team up. And then Spark Eternal stuff happens, and then Domina Tag, basically the coolest character in the history of comics. Comes in at the end there, I think, in Aphra.
Yeah. Do you want me to read you? Sorry, I got sidetracked. Do you want me to read you, like, it's a little high, but do you want me to read you like the description of what Star Weird is from like the old canon? All right. Yeah. Okay. There were species of incorporeal humanoids found only in space, tall and gaunt. They possess long, sharp talons, wild white hair, and glowing eyes, and that was exactly what it looked like in the comic. The creatures appeared to spacers repairing their starships in space or above vessels traveling through hyperspace. A Star Weird would choose a target and, after being spotted, emit a telepathic scream that terrified most individuals. Again, pretty similar to what we saw. The Star Weird would then attack its victims. They were powerful creatures capable of using the Force and held a strong hatred for Force users, leading some Jedi to believe that they were apparitions created by the dark side of the Force. This is where it gets wild. During the time of the first conflict fought between the Galactic Republic and the reconstituted Sith Empire, Jedi Master Williet saved his Padawan, Zarender, and many members of the Jedi Council from a famous Star Weird known as the Star Weird Queen.
Oh, right. There's a queen.
I'll put that in should I put that in the space fauna section of my
Yeah, you should. That should be like a really poor role during hyperspace travel. You run into a Star Weird.
It's going in. Star Weird Queen. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, what is that thing?
You do like a critical fail in hyperspace travel.
I think this run, it's pretty much the same thing, but the only difference was they sort of debunked the myth that it could use the Force. It actually manipulated gravity. Because it's like exists in the vacuum of space. It just sort of moves around and can sort of force push people.
Very, very cool that they say this is a Jedi prison.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So maybe the Star Weird, was being kept there in this Jedi prison. Which
exactly. Yeah.
Very cool.
Super cool. Yeah. And I, something about, and I didn't write down who did the art, so anyone could check for me, but like the art on this is wild. Like it is. I find this thing very upsetting. This thing really creeps me out.
It terrifying. Really creeps me out. Or like a skeleton, or like a human with sunken features, like to the point where they look skeletal.
Yeah, and it just sort of floats around like a limp skeleton, and then just like lashes out. It's like,
yeah,
swipes at you. I think Aphra kills it with the lightsaber, right?
She cuts its hand off with the lightsaber.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I think Luke gets the killing blow.
Yeah, they just throw it into the maelstrom and allegedly it dies.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
We are also dealing with, and we'll get to this in the Star Wars main run and Darth Vader, just a little background. These stories are all taking place post Hidden Empire, where the Fermata
cage.
Fromage. Cage.
The fromage, yes.
Yeah.
The cage de fromage.
It explodes. It sends ripples of force waves throughout the galaxy, and is like just messing with the Force. That basically you're either like disconnected from the Force or overly powerful in the Force. Basically,
in and out. That is a key thing. And I didn't really realize that.
You guys are talking, and I'm just thinking about Domina Tag's like plasma blade, like her wrist blade.
Yeah.
I'm just like, when does
there.
this happen? At some point, it happens.
Right. Yeah, I think this run I sort of ended with the it was just the Star Weird arc, I think, is as far as I got. So
Oh, is that as far as it goes?
That's it in Dr. Aphra. Are you thinking? Wait, is that in?
Am I in Bounty Hunters then?
No, wait.
Hunters?
No, because you're thinking of that was.
I feel like I've seen that
so
too.
What you're. Yes, Grant. What you're thinking of is that happens during the Spark Eternal section when the gang that is trying to rescue Dr. Aphra is like doing all these side missions to get Dr. Aphra. So they go back because they form a fake alliance with
Dominant Tag.
Roman Tag.
Oh,
Ronan Tag.
Bring him to Dominant Tag. Then there's the double cross. There's like the triple cross, double cross, backstab.
Yeah.
Like it gets really complex.
Cool. I just didn't mention that moment, and it's so cool. That happens actually before. That's in Spark Eternal. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it's during the run we talked about.
And that's where
that's when it happens. But if you read that, when you read that after Star Weird, you're also just realizing a lot of that was to clear all of the subplots that were happening in Dr. Aphra, because by the time Spark Eternal ends, we have a clean break for almost all of our characters other than Dr. Aphra. So it really actually felt like I was surprised when Star Weird started in Dark Droids that Alyssa Wong was still the writer, because it feels like what they do in comics when you have a new writing team come on, they kind of
clear
like
the decks.
And their own. I really appreciate when a writer will do that to their own, to be like, all right, let's get this back to basics and start kind of fresh with these characters. And the other thing I want to say is reading Spark Eternal and Star Weird and all of these, boy, just thinking about where this sets into Dark Droids is making me very excited. It's just like watching the lead up.
Once you see where the Dark Droids is going, I think issue 2 or 3, you're like, oh, okay, like this is.
Yeah, I just noticed today that it's sort of so it spans all the main runs. Everyone has their own Dark Droids sort of thing.
It's similar to Hidden Empire. I will say it is less issues, which is better than Hidden Empire. The individual plot lines are cleaner. And the release so far has been very clean in terms of lining up to what's happening in them. So they get everything in order to do this one a little better. Hidden Empire is bugging. I just a side note, as a comics fan, hate large scale crossover events in comics. They drive me nuts. They're really poorly done. It's asking 38 people to get all of their work in on time, which is impossible. And then everything's backed up. Things don't happen. You're reading something in one comic. You're like, what is this referring to? And you're just confused. And it only works when you read them after the whole thing's done and you can re-put them in order in your own brain. Anyway, rant over.
Anyway, this Dark Droids is going to be incredible when we review that, because in our age of AI commentary, it's like, it's very cool.
This is the most metal thing in Star Wars I've seen in a long time.
It's so metal.
And about every way that possibly can mean. And it is.
There's an entendre there.
It's the closest you're going to get
like
to. It is.
I don't even know.
It's true. Yeah. It's the closest you're going to get to like straight up horror in Star Wars.
Right on, man. Yeah, you guys have me stoked about Dark Droids. Should we move on to Star Wars?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So here we got. We're going to talk about issues 29 to 36. We got 2 main arcs and then 1 standalone. So we do want to talk about the arc that I just called No Space. So it's basically our heroes end up in no space. Oh, this was fun.
Because it's like, so who's our ensemble right here? We have Lando and Holdo and Leia and Chewie and Luke. Like, we got some VIPs. And then were there some other randos?
Right.
And then your guy, Lobot.
Oh, Lobot, yeah.
Lobot.
How could I forget?
Yeah, so I think it's those 6. And the reason I know it's those 6 is because I was paying very close attention to who was in which jail cells together. Because that proves very important.
Sure.
Yeah, it does.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait, whose cell is Lobot in?
Chewie. So Chewie's just growling to himself, and like Lobot's just staring at the wall because Lobot's full zombie at this point.
Lobot.
Yeah.
Dude, Lando and Holdo lock it in early.
Smash. They're like, yep.
So literally, they're having a conversation, and then like I think he's basically they're kind of like I just love that like Holdo's calling Lando out on his just like whatever, his whole personality is. Then Lando completely gets vulnerable, and then it's both really quiet, and they're basically like, I don't know what to do now. I'm bored. I don't know what to do. And Holdo's just like, I think it's something we can do. And then,
all right.
And then smash. Yeah.
Yeah, that continues, and that's great.
And good for them. Who doesn't want to see two hot
and
people?
there's real character growth between them too.
Yeah.
Aldo's like, you know, you're not the person who double crossed, you know, Leia and Han on Bespin. Like you're also you're yourself now. Like be true to yourself, whatever. And there's a real like connection there. And I felt like that was like good character work.
Really good character. It makes so much sense for those two to be together because she does really bring Calrissian from Empire Strikes Back to the General in Return of the Jedi. Like she's been, you know, there's Holdo.
And whenever there's like, you know, we're low on fuel, Holdo is there, you know, like it's also a Holdo motif.
Yeah. She was there in the Princess, what was it? Princess of Alderaan, that book. She's a huge part of that as a young person with Leia.
That's true.
So great Holdo stuff.
I love when we get these little moments of explaining why Holdo and Leia are friends. But one thing I'll say that, you know, one of the things I really, really like in The Last Jedi is you get the sense that Leia and Holdo are friends. Like those two actors together really express, and it feels like they're long-term friends without having to like, there's no exposition on that whatsoever.
There's a great Star Wars Adventure issue where it's Holdo and Leia on like the streets of Galadron. Or something. And it's
so
super.
When you get these, it's just a nice little addition, right? And you just starts out with Holdo trying to convince the gang to go on vacation when it's not really a vacation. It's to try to get a Path engine.
And they get their vacation, I guess.
And then they end up in no space with the Path engine, and they meet Flavin, who wants the flavors, or whatever his name is. Flavin. I don't know.
Flag.
I know, thank you. I just couldn't do that. That's all I could think of was Frank.
It felt like Cloud Atlas a little bit.
Well, especially when they start saying the old olds, the new olds, the news, and I'm like, okay.
Adam, I was like, what's Adam thinking right now?
It was a little like, all right, you're trying to. Sometimes the sci-fi is you're trying a little too hard with the sci-fi, but it was. I like the setup, but the language occasionally was
the classic motif of like strange world. Like they're just people from another time, place.
I really.
And what I go for it.
I was just gonna say, I really love No Space, and I didn't want to pass over that. So this is from the High Republic Phase 1. This was home base for the Nihil. And we see it, but it's so much cooler drawn. I just imagine sort of like a flat black sphere hovering in space, but it's like it's craggy and it's weird and it's like, and it's in between spaces. And we know, so we go through this whole arc. They're stranded there. Obviously, our heroes find this Path engine, make it work, and they do escape, but some stay.
It's the Hall of the Nile, right? Yeah, like that's supposedly the hall, like the hall.
But it's still out there, and that's exciting. And there's people still living there, which is cool. And it sounds like they can get in and out if there's like one surviving Path engine.
People or killbots?
Allegedly, the killbots are all gone. Luke just
that's true.
Power.
Because Luke had
Luke felt that power in the Force, which. There's a reoccurring sort of story moment in which like the Force is kind of like just God tier, and everyone just gets super powered for a second and sort of charged up. And I think in Luke's moment, it's in the Star Wars series, and he destroys all those killbots. He like kind of just like
he throws them into space all at once.
Yeah, throws them into space.
Like have you seen in The Mandalorian when he lifts all the frogs in the swamp? That's what he does with all the killbots on a whole like platform, and then throws them into space. Which, granted, space is only like 100 feet away, but like, impressive.
Yeah,
no, it's true, but it's like all of them. For a person who, in all of the series, the most we've seen him do is really pull a lightsaber to him. Right. Like at this point, Luke is not that adept at using the Force that way, so it is pretty impressive. I'll lobby a critique here for a second. Sure. And it's an overarching critique, not any one individual creator. So again, the idea is that there are these waves in the Force, and they ebb and they flow, right? And they pass through Force users, which I think is super cool. When they pass through you, you get supercharged, you lose all precision, basically you're just all power. And then when it ebbs, you lose your connection to the Force, which leads to a really cool thing in the next arc we'll talk about in a second. But boy, do these ebbs and flows, which should seem to be random, seem very connected to plot points, which is like, I feel like you could have done it in a way. Sorry,
Are you saying
I was
that
trying to get through this without having a coughing fit, but I feel like you could have done this in a way where it was just like more about something about the Force explosion messed with their connection to the Force, and it was more connected to emotions or something like that, right? Where you could make it more of these moments where they just, it just feels weird where you're just making it kind of random, but boy, does it never feel random, because never in the series does an ebb or a flow happen where it's not important, right? And doesn't seem to move the plot along. Anyway, just my minor critique of story.
Are there theories for why this is happening?
It's the Fermata cage. Is when it got opened up.
Okay.
They said it was, I forget which comic, but yeah, they said it's
ripples.
like dropping a large stone into a flat pond, and it just sort of sends ripples out. So in theory, it'll
show it.
In theory, it'll sort of balance out. But that's it
Okay,
was just opening
this
that
is happening
Fermata
concurrently with the opening of the Fermata cage, and the archivist and Kofon Ferris are like opening
exactly.
it.
When they do actually like open it full bore on the Amaxian station, which is cool. And it's just eating, and they power it up enough to open it, and they do trap Vader and Palpatine, and then they're immediately let for.
All right, we covered that. We covered that. Let's move on.
We already talked about it.
Can we get to Dr. Kuwata?
Wait, I want to say one. I really want to talk about it. I want to say one quick thing, because I went kind of hard on this general storytelling stuff, but I want to say one of the things I really appreciate about this arc is I love a story where you don't have any villains. You have a protagonist and antagonist. The protagonists are heroes. The antagonists are the people that are stranded in no space, but they're not villains, right? Like, they're not bad people. They're really good. They just have a differing perspective. And I love that one thing to talk about I hate in everything is when two characters would just have a conversation, it would fix everything. And this is a series where they kept having conversations with the lead guy of the survivors, and it moved, right? It moved his positioning. In terms of like, okay, well, I'll let you do this. Okay, well, I'll let you do this. Okay, you found it good. Like, it was a really interesting way to tell a story where it's not just like a pig-headed person against a strong-willed person. It was two thoughtful leaders.
Captain Blythe.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sort of,
I really like that. It's a different type. Yeah.
And the Kezarek colony, I guess, now populate no space. So if you are running a Force and Destiny campaign,
Kezaretian,
and you're going to no space, like these are the people that are there. Pretty cool.
I mean, again, this is Charles Sewell, who was on by the way, was on a podcast last week. But it's behind the paywall. Scott hasn't seen Scott Ackerman from Comedy Bang Bang.
Oh, great.
In the thing. So I listened to it. I have no tip. They talked a lot about Star Wars, which was great, and about writing comics. He was really interesting to talk about. It's more about, it's a movie podcast, but they talk about general stuff. And he was just talking about the High Republic and stuff. There's no tidbits, unfortunately, but seems really cool, and seems like he has a good handle on everything, which is again proven, because his take on Star Wars is awesome. All right, let's talk about the next run in the clutches of Dr. Kuwata.
Yeah.
Kuwata, what is it?
Dude,
Kuwata?
so it's like two slabby issues of nothing but lightsaber, just pornography.
I thought of you, Ben. Yep.
It was so great. And I was like, and you guys were sort of like, I was mentioning lightsabers, and you've mentioned a couple like notes about this because I know you've read it already, or Adam, like I could see the glint in your eye.
I hadn't.
I forgot where I learned these things. Yeah.
Boy, man. Just so it's like, so he's like, my lightsaber's a little glitchy. I'm like, go on. And then he starts him down a path, and he's like, well, this is a Force. We're seeing pages in like old Jedi texts with Force crystals of all these different colors and all this stuff. And it just keeps going, and they find, I mean, the whole Greta character, he goes, ultimately he needs to get a new crystal.
You killed 3 people.
Yeah, she killed the whole room.
Yeah.
Greta was weird, but I don't care, because she's like, no, I've just been sitting here because I had a hunch that Luke, you were going to need a new crystal, and this is where he'd come. And it was like, oh, all right. And she's from Jedha and all that stuff. And then she takes him to Dr. Kuwata, who is a crystal whisperer, right? I loved his character design so much. He's a Pantoran, so he's purple. He's blind, I think. He has these sweet eye like protectors, but he just like whispers to this chunky necklace full of like hundreds of kyber crystals that are just chittering away to him at all time.
Yeah.
Such a cool character.
It's also alluded to that the fact that he was colleagues with Masabi, Zali, and Urso, Galen Urso,
yeah.
basically studied with the other crystal scholars in the galaxy. Very cool stuff.
Nice. I knew you were. I knew you
looks really
that.
cool. He's a Pantoran with like a giant rifle, and like just dripped out with like ice
safari gear. Yeah. Oh yeah. And he's iced out.
Kyber necklaces.
He is the blingiest character in Star Wars, no doubt.
Yeah, he's super blinged out. Like you couldn't be more blinged out than this character. Basically.
Yeah. Oh, just such a fun character. But yeah, so it's just like, he's like explains how a lightsaber works to Luke because Luke doesn't know any of this stuff. He, there's a Hu Yang mention here, he's like,
it's like every deep cut at once. You're like, whoa.
Yeah. And then
which again begs the question: has Luke met Hu Yang?
I know we still don't know. But it'd be funny if he met him. He'd be like, "Wait, you're Hu Yang?" He's like, "How could that be?" Oh my god!
How profound would Hu Yang be around Luke? He'd be like, "Luke has always been the chosen one." He would like declare it outright.
I can just imagine it happening. I just want that scene to happen with Sabine standing next to be like, not like this one. Because like how much smack he talks to Sabine through that entire.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my!
So mean. He's so mean. They're great.
It's just real talk.
So, speaking of Ahsoka, so I take things in. I don't know where I take them in. I give no credit to them, and then spit it out as if I came up with it.
That's podcasting.
So I just want to say this is where I.
What we do.
I swear to you,
weekly.
It is unintentional plagiarism. Which, if a student said that to me, I'd still make them go back and rewrite it. So I should have something for myself. Yeah, right. Tell me about it. Yeah. Unintentional. Anyway,
I'm sure that was written in good faith originally.
I'm sure.
Original way.
Oh yeah. So I was gonna say that what I had suggested that should happen in Ahsoka happens here, which is when Luke what's the terminology? Cleanses the crystal.
Heals eventually.
And he opens it, it becomes green, right? Like it's that moment that's what I thought was going to happen in Ahsoka, and now I know why I thought that was going to happen in Ahsoka is that when she went through that whole process with Anakin, and I thought the next time she was going to like light her lightsabers, they wouldn't be white anymore; they'd actually have color to them again. And this is why it's because I read this issue before Ahsoka. That's why that got.
Wait, so did he heal the crystal, or did Dr. Kuwata give him two different crystals?
I thought he healed it.
He healed the clear crystal to green.
Well, he didn't heal it, I guess. He just.
I think he peered into them and had like sort of a psychic journey with each.
Yeah, he didn't heal he didn't heal. You would heal a red crystal, but the neutral crystals have been healed already. No. Yes, he said this one is a young crystal. It's only about 1 million years old, so it's never been touched by anyone. It's just a clear crystal, that's a Legends concept, right? That all crystals were clear, but when it comes to you, it takes a color that from based on whatever your personality is or something.
Your Jedi path.
Yeah, so I love that. That's Lucasfilm having it and the story group having it both ways. It's like, well, you can go to Ilum, you can find a crystal, it can call to you and do all that stuff. But if you find a young crystal, then you can imbue it with color or whatever.
Are we to think this is the green crystal, from the titular green crystal of Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, I think so. Because I have a question for you all just at the end of going through the series. I'm going to pose it now, just so if we can come back to it. It's like, how many more issues do you think we have before they have to do what they did before? Because just to keep everyone in the loop, if you're not kind of following along or you're not aware of this, they had an original run of 3 or 4 comics that took place between A New Hope and Empire, and that ended eventually. And now they started these new runs, which take place between Empire and Jedi. And I feel like we're kind of getting pretty close to when we have to switch over to Jedi, because almost some would say too much has happened between Empire and Jedi.
Just
some. Yeah. So I feel like this has to be temporarily pretty close to when they actually go to save Han. In which case, this has to be the green crystal.
That's fun to think about. Now we have to sort of move these characters. I wonder where Afra's going to be during Return of the Jedi.
I wonder what's going to happen in the comics too, right? Because the comics have to now, because they're not going to cancel these comics. They'll have to restart them, but they're going to restart. We're going to get, I hope, post Return of the Jedi.
That would be actually
Star Wars.
Wait, doesn't
super
Boba Fett
fun.
has to go back under Jabba's employ, right? Like that has to happen.
Who does?
Boba Fett.
Lando? Oh, Boba Fett does. Yeah, Boba Fett has to. Well, we'll get there, but Boba Fett has to clear his bounty. Lando has to get back in there. Yeah, there's stuff that has to happen still.
But
not
yeah,
a ton.
that's right. Lando would probably be the first piece to move.
Wait, Leia has to get the Bouche armor
back,
but she got that in that one shot.
We got that in that one shot
2 years ago. Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, way back
that was
when.
a long time ago. They took care of that. They checked that box early.
Yeah, that's checked. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna say something that's gonna make me very sad. Is I need someone to create the chronological timeline of all Star Wars Marvel comics, and when that happens, I'm just gonna do it
again.
I'm gonna read it all the way through,
and we'll publish it.
Well,
Paywall.
In chronological order, just like people say that the right way to watch Clone Wars is in chronological in universe order. I need the comics in chronological in order. Anyway. Enough of my insanity.
That's
I was gonna.
I just wanted to bring up 2 points.
No, go for it. yeah.
One actually, because I wanted to comment on things you said. So one was if it goes past Return of the Jedi, we start cross. Actually, I think they have like 3 years before they start crossing over into Aftermath. Because I think that starts
right.
Oh no! It's that year. It's right then. Because the Battle of Jakku happens a year after It's just a year. It's 5 ABY.
Which, I mean, that might be the timeline, right? That might be the timeline for those comics. Is they might set it in between the end of ROTJ and the Battle of Jakku, right? Maybe that's what that timeline is, because similar, right? Because between A New Hope and Empire is 1 year, right? Yep. Isn't it a single year? I think so. They seem to be taking about a year for these comic runs, so that gives them runway, right? Because this comic run started in 2020, so it's going to go at least 3 years, if not 4 years. So that gives them another 4 years for Lucasfilm and everyone else to figure out where there's free reign for them to tell stories with these characters.
And they could do some really fun interplay stuff with Aftermath. And the most fun thing they could do is ignore it completely, because I don't think there's any crossover characters. I mean, but it's like Rey Sloane, like you don't really need to know. Maybe there's whispers of her.
Nope.
But Mon Mothma knows, and so like when she speaks, that would be really cool. She knows what Wedge Antilles is up to, so Wedge will be a part of it. I don't know. I think that the whole thing is like,
give us a Wedge comic.
Maybe a Wedge comic pops up. That's great. Or a Snap Wexley comic. But I mean, we get a lot of him in Aftermath. So
I want the 9-nub comic. Yeah. I want the one-shot 9-nub giant font. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lucasfilm.
Oh, that's in it's in Trial Run. Hey, anyone want to talk more about Dr. Quatter, or do you want to go into Trial Run? Because we have like a perfect segue into Trial Run.
Let's do it. Let's go right to the Trial Run.
All right. So Trial Run, a standalone issue. I love it. It's one of my favorite things in comics is when clearly they've set everything up, and then the publishers come back to you and say, oh no, the crossover event's not happening now. It's happening 1 month from now. So write us a 1-issue comic. Because some of those are some of the best comics, is when you have to you tell a comic writer, you have 22 pages, you have to tell a compelling story, because this is a compelling story. And we just get the rebels saying, hey, let's just go give the Empire a bloody nose, just for blanks and giggles.
So
right? Yeah, like literally a bloody nose.
It's just get a moral victory.
This issue's amazing.
Yeah. And so they go to Coruscant and they blow up the head of Palpatine's
statue in front of front of his palace, or I don't know what that thing was. Maybe it was the old Jedi temple or whatever. But
I think the senior officer's like, someone's going to get punished for this. Palpatine surely saw this event, and I was like, this is
no hiding it.
Keep doing this. That works.
Yeah.
It's great, and it also is a great rebellion thing. It was like, it's not about like, yes, we have to win the final battle, but we also have to win the hearts and minds of everyone, right? And so we need these highly publicized victories. It's such a smart moment for Leia to be like, no, this is gonna be hard. We're gonna lose some of our best pilots, but this moves the cause forward. Like, it's such General Leia, such General Organa thing.
I really want to. Do they ever do a highlight the A-Wing and basically like how it was made at the Incom Corporation, like in secrecy, and the Empire didn't know about it? Like, it's so fast, right? And it was given to the rebellion.
Yeah.
Like that's such a story in my mind. Like that is so cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was like I don't think they ever went into detail, but they sort of. Yeah, I think the most I learned from it was like in the ship's like picture book, like coffee table thing.
Because didn't they just send A-wings and the Falcon basically, and they were like, these ships are so fast that no turbo lasers can touch them.
That's a really good point, Grant, because I feel like we've gotten stories about Y-wings, right?
That's
There's like the Rebels.
Story. Yeah, it's in
Rebels. Is it Rebels story arc with the Y-wings? Because that's Wedge's story, right? Basically,
no, that was
a different one.
That was Ezra as a commander, sort of as a bad.
Right.
Because you think the Empire wouldn't want, their enemy to have the fastest ship in the galaxy.
Yeah. And we have a story about B-wings.
Oh my gosh!
I can't remember.
That was also in that's even better.
This is also. Is that even also Rebels?
That's where Hera.
Rebels.
Hera needs to go takes the Phantom into like land on a planet that like you can't even land on, and it's a rogue Mon Cala making weird ships in this like crazy maelstrom.
Right.
And she has to earn his trust to take his prototype, and it's a B-wing, and it turns the tide of some blockade.
Yeah. So we need our A-wing. Story.
Mm.
Right? Yeah, absolutely, Grant.
That may or may not be in my campaign.
Oh, nice. Maybe
you're
going to write it. Yeah.
Let's maybe we should play it. So I was going to say that the reason why I want to say it's a good crossover is that like we kind of get Nine Nub for the first time. It seems like for the first time in the Falcon as Lando's co-pilot. Like we get that little synergy of just again moving those chess pieces closer to the Return of the Jedi. Now, like, one more thing checked off the box of what needs to happen before Return of the Jedi starts, which I think is why we're getting close to the end of these runs.
Was super fun, man.
Speaking of the end of these runs,
yeah,
should we move to bounty hunters?
We really should. Okay, can I just ask? I need to ask a synergy question because I did have something left over from Dr. Kuwata, like duology. So Luke leaves with two crystals. He leaves with the green one that he colored.
Yep.
And then the red one that he couldn't pierce.
Yeah.
But we know.
Wait, we didn't even talk about like the Sith that was like sitting on the.
Oh yeah. Let's back up.
The red crystal. There was like the Sith Eternal emblem all over this throne room. Didn't look like the throne room on Exegol. Could have been. Yes.
No. Maybe I don't know, but it sure seemed like
different. Still like monolithic stone throne and slabs and stuff everywhere, but.
Yeah, it seems like he walked into like a Eyes Wide Shut party. It was fine.
It was like don't worry about it. Like, music was going on.
It's wait to see. Be like, is he about to be like mutter the word Fidelio to be let in? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. It was everyone in black, and then this very beautiful female Sith Lord on a throne with.
She had Bo-Katan energy, like sitting on the throne.
Yeah, no one sits on a throne other than their like legs thrown over an arm. Vukora does it later as well.
Yeah,
that's the only way for a woman to probably sit on a throne is like chaise lounged. But she has two charhounds, which is pretty cool at her feet.
Yep.
And she's just that's so weird. I did not see that coming at all. He like got teleported.
That was crazy. I was like, who is this character?
Some random.
There's theories for Darth Shaw. Was that a Sith Lord from way back?
That was.
It sounds familiar.
Lord,
I feel like that's
familiar.
I've heard more and more canon mentions of that. Of that character.
Yeah.
But
Shaw. Yep, that's the one. But it's Shaw.
Yeah. So
has a breather on.
Okay, never mind.
Well, but is it?
It's female. Yeah, female though.
Like
could be.
Yeah, it could be. We don't know what the end of her story is, right?
She died
how she got to that
1100 BBY.
I mean, to me, that looks way. That looked like we were looking way back in that crystal.
Oh, I think so.
This was the one, the female Sith lady titled Darth. She was. This was Mommin's.
Right. Okay, that's what we keep talking about. That's right.
That's why we keep talking about her. But in this, she's wearing a mask, or the last thing we saw. Okay. Anyways, so my point of that story was that, like, in Force Awakens and Last Jedi, he's wearing a necklace with a piece of red Force crystal, and we also found. Oh no! Sorry, I've wasted our time.
You mean the Last Jedi in his hut?
In his hut, yeah. But no, then we find out it's in that book. Someone help me. The Luke Skywalker goes to Exegol book.
Oh, Legends of Luke Skywalker.
No.
No, no. I can picture the cover of
Shadows of
it.
the Sith. Thank you.
There you go. There you go.
I think
Always
that's
count on
where
Grant.
I'm a Mentag guy.
Yeah,
It's
I think
just
that's where he
takes me
got that
outside.
crystal that he's wearing. But I was wondering if maybe they were like trying to retcon it, because like, what is Luke going to do with that red crystal?
Right? Something. That's got to be.
Maybe that's the
like,
one. Maybe that's
it's pretty
he does
major.
finally heal it, and that one turns green, and he uses that. I don't know.
Oh, I have a question that I don't want to set everything off.
Or it could be Leia's crystal.
No, wait, what if he throws away the green crystal and he's like, I have to heal this red one?
Do we know where Kylo? Has the story been told where Kylo gets the red crystal?
I think we've all believed that he just stole it from the from Ren. Whatever the main Ren is. I think his name's Ren, right?
But yeah, his name is Ren of the Knights of Ren.
I assumed he stole his, because I don't
Ren.
I don't think he would destroy his blue crystal, but he could have bled his crystal, but
what if this is at Luke's temple, right? Like, what if they use this and he on his way out, or it's been like, what if there's this thing where it's under his I almost swore real bad, under his freaking pillow he had this red crystal. Like, who knows? Like, they might be doing the synergy
probably
thing.
that's 3 ways that Ben Solo could have gotten a red crystal. Which is insane.
Yeah.
But I think there'll be another shoe to drop with this.
You don't think Luke's going to heal this crystal, though?
I think Luke is, or Leia is.
Like that
Maybe.
foreshadowing in this.
Oh, I like Leia. Yeah,
let's heal this thing. If you can, heal it. I'd love to see someone heal it, Kuwata says. There's actually a book, one of the sacred texts, where this is a big part of it. Like, one of the sacred texts is all about healing crystals.
Yeah.
It starts with a B. I forget what it's called. But,
wow.
It's very cool. But Kuwata basically is like, I'd love to see it because you need to be force sensitive to do it. You need to use the force.
Yeah.
And then Luke can't do it there, but I felt like he took the crystal and he's like, well, if you can do it in your journey, he's like, that'd be great.
Yeah. And they also, there was another thing where there was a whole tribe on Jedha, the Fulasi, I believe, and they would have healing ceremonies for it. That was like one of the services they provided the Jedi, were healing red crystals from the Sith War, which is like that. I mean, I almost like jumped out of my chair. Like, I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever had in a long time.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I digress. Let's move on to Bounty
No,
Hunters.
it was very
No. Yeah, how dare you talk about something?
Are we past Star Wars now? Do we do it on Star Wars? Okay.
I think so.
Let's go see Valance and Tonga.
Okay. Sure.
Losha and
I like the second crew they bring in. So we've looked at this, Tianga, Bosk, Tachi Leech, Valance crew, Forlom and Zuckus, Losha, for a minute. We've been with them for a while and they're fighting, but then they're like, I guess the whole thing is that so they're being chased by the not Inquisitorius, what are they called? Inferno Squadron, right? And because I think somewhere in Balance's brain he learned that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, right?
Something crazy happened. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like when he was in his service.
I don't remember what they're trying to wipe out.
Was doing something that from his past. Like, I don't know. I forget.
Or was it just? Oh no, it might have just been. I just assumed that was it. But it was actually that other general that like she tried to seduce him, and did seduce him. But I think it was like she did something that I think if Vader found out would kill her, and so that's why she commissioned the bounty hunters to go take out Valance, or wipe Valance's memory.
Right. Inferno Squad here to wipe his memory. Yeah, that's what I got.
Great to get some Inferno Squad in like anything. Yeah, it was so fun for me. I played the heck out of Battlefront 2, and
well, I'll also make the point of so it's kind of like when you have comic book crossovers between characters. Often the more popular character will win the fight. Same as in wrestling, which I don't really follow, but I assume is also kind of the similar rules. So it's interesting to show that who wins the day is Inferno Squadron.
Yeah. Sure.
Huh. I wonder what that tells you about our character, about which creation is more beloved.
Yeah, it was an odd moment, too, because I feel like Valance just immediately gave in. He was like, you know what? Memory wipe sounds good. I was like,
he's
what?
like, I don't want to remember it anymore. I mean, that first of all, that's a powerful.
I don't want you to kill Bosk. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's the thing when they were like really like about to eviscerate themselves, but that's just what bounty hunters do to pass the time, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of sweet. I thought like he's like so racked with guilt and pain and regret and just like hates his life that he like I mean that makes sense to me, and it's a powerful turn to just be like, you know what, just wipe my memory. But he still wants to be human. But he's like I don't even care anymore. Like I don't know. I thought it was kind of wild.
Sees Boba Fett like 20 minutes later, and he's just like, I remember you. Are you my friend?
He's like associates. We're business associates. We're acquaintances.
Dude, I love the Bounty Hunter Guild like lounge in this issue. It just so vibrant, those scenes. I was like just want to be there. It was so cool.
I really let's like looking ahead, spoiler alert, this series is ending.
I kind of hoped it would end today when I was reading it, but
just
because it would be fun to see it
climactic
finish. That's all.
I'm guessing we're gonna get the end of Valance's story. I hope. But the other thing is that I feel like I'm a little bummed that they might be throwing horrible phrase, but they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because I really like bounty hunters when Valance isn't the focus of bounty hunters. And like I'm like, you should still have, this is a major thing in Star Wars, like you should have an ongoing bounty hunters. Just kill off Valance and just have bounty hunters. By the way, I think I've been saying this for how long have we been doing this? How long has
bounty hunters been around? 2017.
Yeah.
That's why. That's 6 years.
Don't you make bounty hunters so Bosk and Valance can fight every like 5 issues? Like, isn't that the point of bounty hunters?
Done and bored with that. Every time they're in the same room together, I'm like, yeah, they're gonna yell at each other. Great, they're gonna snipe each other.
So I have a note. I have a note from this. So Bosk was introduced as the second most deadly bounty hunter in the galaxy, assuming Boba Fett was first. And I was like, really? Yeah. Then why don't you show that? All Bosk does is get his tail kicked in or cut off like every episode. Like, show me Bosk ruining people. And I know like in some, like whenever they get to like the scrums, like he beats people in a melee, but like in a mano against like a top level person, like have him win or something. I felt like he never had any
given that
victory.
He worships the scorekeeper, he has to be on the scoreboard, so he's probably just touting his own brand.
I think he's taken a lot of L's.
And just that's how he's leveled them out.
That's what I mean. In like 6 years, I feel like he's 0-27. Like, you know, like he just keeps losing battles. He gets like stranded by Boba Fett. I think even Dengar like might have like left him for dead. And like, you know, I don't know. I wanted, you know, yes, Bosk should be the second most deadly person, but like show him like do more than you know, some bite than more than just bark. Yeah.
Show your work.
Yeah. I don't know. That's one thing. I'm just like, I don't know. Give me just like Bosk just like ruining a whole army or something, or like, you know, tearing through a spaceship by himself, or going up against, you know, Dirge and winning or something like.
Also, do we need to recanonize Dirge?
He's been recanonized a long time ago.
Dirge is just shredding.
I know.
In
I know.
That was my favorite part. I mean, obviously in that like beautiful, like what you said, that the room shot, I was like looking through people. I thought I even saw Evazan in the front, but definitely you.
Dengar and Minaru, just get out of there.
Yeah, they're cute. It's just nice to know they're like somewhere canoodling in a bar, Dengar. You know, in a bar.
Yeah.
No, I really can't. I hate on Dengar.
This is my favorite part of Dengar, though. This is his softer side that we never get to see.
Wait, the guy who comes out is basically Simon Pegg from The Force Awakens. He's like, my bar.
Yeah.
You read that?
Yeah,
way,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. And then Dirge and Deathstick.
So the other thing,
hanging out at a bar.
Yeah, Dirge and Deathstick. All right, whatever. Deathstick. Again, I will always make the thing. It's the same thing as just having a badass assassin in our world just called Cigarette.
Yeah.
Which is
I was
weird.
trying to remember her name. I'm like, Cigarette? I'm like, smoking. And I was like, oh, right, Deathstick, right. I have to translate. Yeah.
Deathstick, yeah. It's so weird. It's such a weird... But it works because, like, Deathstick,
double
badass. It works, but it's just a weird when you start, like, attaching it to like what she's
like,
named after.
Show me your death stick. She doesn't even carry like batons or something. I
feel
like she should do.
Could be like Spice Gal. I don't know.
Spice. I don't know. I'm still upset that she is not one of the handmaidens. I really thought that's what they were going to go with that character when they first introduced her. That I thought that would have a really cool, interesting.
The handmaidens
turn. Which I mean,
picked a better.
Part of me is like, it's also nice that not everything. That's true.
Yeah,
that
I
is very
think
true.
you're destined for B tier like bounty hunterism if you name yourself Deathstick. It's just, I don't know.
It's weird that Deathstick is still around. All right, good. I'm glad. And like, it's hard because I don't want to go like I don't want to get hard after a female character, right? I don't want to get like whatever, but like, it's mostly the name.
Yeah.
It's really just the name because I think she looks cool. I think she acts cool. Just give her a different name.
I thought she was going to be one of the handmaidens or something like that. Like
yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I really thought. I really thought. And so I think part of why I don't like her is because it's my own bias of my own theory not being confirmed, which is really lame and makes me feel like the worst part of the internet. So I'm just trying to be like, no, I'm trying to be like, she's cool.
Think,
it's great.
If you were
like a handmaiden,
right. If you were sitting in the Bounty Hunters Guild social club, Deathstick would be a really cool name, probably. Like if you're really there in Galaxy, it's probably a pretty cool name.
That's fair enough.
Like Torch or something.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah. So since I'm going hard, and I feel like now I've like Ben's won me over to the dark side on this. What the other thing I'm gonna say is, look, I know that we showed Boba Fett without his helmet a lot in the Book of Boba Fett, and I'm fine with that because good for Tamora Morrison. Like I think he's awesome. I think he's a great actor. Give him that role. I think it's great. I still think, and I think we've talked about this before, is like once he put the helmet back on, maybe he should have had the helmet on for the rest of the series. But whatever, I get it with actors. You're paying them. You want to show their face. It's weird to me that even in this moment, he gets his helmet knocked off and he's walking around without his helmet. And it just seems so weird to me to see Boba Fett without his helmet on so much. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he has like the clone trooper haircut too, and it's just.
I know.
It's interesting.
Like why? Like he's not a soldier.
Didn't
like, you feel
really
like he would have, like,
look exactly like the clones to me either.
No.
He looked different, and I bet that was on purpose. Because they were altered or whatever, but interesting. I wonder if that's going to lead to something else. I don't know. I mean, they could, oh gosh, I'm not going to go down the Boba Fett like season 2 theory, but you could so easily you could so easily you could do like a precursor show or some sort of flashback series, and you don't even need Tamora Morrison. And you could actually go forward and like use him for voiceover.
I just feel like
like have an actor play have an actor play the suit, just like they do with Mandalorian, but you used to have Tamora Morrison do the voice acting.
Right, that's the thing. Like I just have to say, and this is me being and congratulations on the SAG getting settling the strike.
Yeah.
So I want to say that.
Did that happen today?
Pro actors,
fantastic.
Yeah, they settled. It's good. We're good to go. Have you been on Instagram? Everyone is promoting.
Really?
Like now, it's so funny. It's like now everyone catching up on like the people in the Marvels. Like suddenly like ran to the theaters going, "Thank God we can finally promote our movie."
We can actually
trailer came out
for our episodes now too. I'm very excited.
I'm wondering if I think they did hold that because now they can start like now that the actors can.
That's
start
so great because I heard a week ago they like still were like. They wanted to keep their and they're like this is in perpetuity for eternity, and I was like, "What are you? No, like that's absolutely not. That's all. This is all about."
Like, the terms of the deals haven't come out, but they seem like they won big. It seems like they got pretty much everything they wanted for the most part. But I will say that so I just want to say all that before I say the next thing because I'm pro unions, pro
even though we
actors
totally
and writers.
violated every time we made a podcast, probably.
No, we didn't.
We're not in it. We're not part of.
It was all made up.
That's the weird. I saw a couple of people. I'm like, I don't. Like, we weren't promoting. We were critiquing and talking about. So, also like, what impact are we having? Reality check. So
how dare you besmirch our listeners' good names?
I know we made Jason go watch something. So
Jason watched Loki, which is basically a meme of me dealing with my electric leaf blower.
You have an electric leaf blower? How is it? We really wanted one.
I do. It's basically the Loki
is it
season
good?
finale when I use it.
Wait, did the season finale happen?
Oh yeah.
All right.
We get okay.
This is not going to be a Loki.
So after this ends, Ben has to sign off first, which is hard because he's the host. So he's gonna have to walk away to the other room and Grant.
I'm gonna go watch Loki.
Yeah, go watch Loki. We'll probably still be talking by the time you get back. So anyway, so what I was gonna say is I agree with you, Ben. And I just wanted to say the same thing. It's just so weird to me that you can, similar with the Mandalorian, as you mentioned, like why wouldn't you, as a studio, make the choice? This character never takes his helmet off because that gives you the ability to write this show forever because you don't have to recast.
It's also, it's also like the greatest gunslinger. Like he's the best at what he does kind of character that like how awesome would it have been to get a show where he's basically helmet on the entire time and it's Mando season 1 pre-Grogu and it's basically just like the most high octane stunt work and sort of like anti-hero mission based plot line. Like I don't know.
100%,
for me that would be the ultimate
100%, man. I thought they set it up so well in Mandalorian too. Like when he got his armor back, I was like, oh, he's never taking that off. Like it was such a great build up to it.
Yeah. No, it's
that
true.
I was like, dude, he's never taking this, and he didn't for the rest of Mandalorian. But then I think there's the narrative reason is that he's trying to humanize himself, and so that's why he thinks everyone else will look at him as just a bounty hunter if he always wears his helmet. So if he takes it off, he's like can actually be a leader and look people in the eye. Like that's probably the narrative reason. But but that's not the show that I would have preferred to see.
I also wonder if and that's the other thing is like if Mando never existed, which I'm not advocating for that because Mando's great. But if that never happened, I wonder if we would have gotten the Boba Fett never takes his helmet off because it would have been weird to have 2 series with 2 main characters who refuse to take their helmet off. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to differentiate these characters in a way, and I wonder if that's part of it. It's just like we don't want to do the same thing again.
And I think Tamara Morrison's a blessing, and they were going to utilize that blessing.
His scenes when he's with the Tuskens and his helmet's off, like that Boba Fett's great. Like that element.
I like the book of Boba Fett. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I've watched it a couple times. I'm going to watch it again.
Great world build.
I will always say I will watch it again too. I will 100% watch it again. I at some point still plan on. It'll probably be during the summer. Doing the
in there is outstanding.
Oh, it's so good. But I will. My plan is to do the chronological live action rewatch of all movies and TV shows this summer, which is not actually as daunting as it sounds. But like in universe chronological order.
Live action. Yeah,
live action. No, because that's the only reason why I wouldn't do that is because. That's the problem. Is I love it, but then it's going to feel like it's going to feel like an assignment rather than like, oh, I get to watch this series and then jump to that series and then suddenly I'm in Force Awakens.
Plan, dude.
Anyway,
that's a great plan.
Anyways,
I digress. Bounty hunters, everyone fights and nothing happens. And that's the
end. No. But hey, we get some interesting stuff happening in Dark Droids. We'll talk about that whenever. So the other thing I was gonna say is, so we know that Bounty Hunters are getting replaced by Jango Fett series, right? I think is that what's happening?
On the final age, it was basically the cover art was like a looming Jango Fett helmet, and I was like, oh,
maybe, yeah. No, we still got a couple more. That was announced. Yeah, it was out on during New York Comic Con. I don't know, one of the comic conventions.
I'm here for that. Man.
I mean, that's the only silver lining to the strike was that boy did Star Wars really advertise a ton on the comics and the books. Like gave so much on that because they could, and they actually got the writers. And
there was so much High Republic push.
Yeah,
I was like, High Republic is everywhere right now.
Oh, do you know you can now add that too? The concept art is awesome. Do you know that at Galaxy's Edge, if you're doing to make you're making a lightsaber, you can make a Graydon lightsaber. Like you could actually get the crossover one. And I'm like,
I did just see that. That's the new ones they roll out.
Yeah, you can see it above here. I did go High Republic with my lightsaber build, and I just want to go back and be like, can I just get
Zed? Also,
yeah. That's sweet.
Yeah, great lights.
So okay, closing that tab, going back to the other tab. So Jango Fett series is. I'm wondering if now that we're talking about where all the comic series go post, like when they wrap up this between Empire and Return, do they go back?
Are we just completely tease a Jango Fett series on Disney Plus tomorrow morning? Keeps the helmet.
No.
He takes it off.
That'd be great. But
Jango Fett's the kind of guy who takes off the helmet and laxes, but it's in like full pajama.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
he loves his jammies.
He's also not a real.
Jammies or full armor.
He just sits to his jammies and ends up in the middle of a noir film. I mean, like, who doesn't dream for that?
Dude, I'm telling you, right? I want Jango Fett's life. Like, that's if I could drop myself in, that's it.
It's pretty great.
Pretty awesome.
Don't you want like it being a nice climate controlled, really bright room, and to look out into like a raging storm.
How cozy is that life? In your jammy jams?
Yeah. I know. Give me that. Like I love a rainy day.
Your own son.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
All right, now
you are your own son.
Yeah, I probably would hold off on cloning myself for a hot second, but like
nightmare.
Everything else, I'm there for.
Raising myself sounds like a nightmare.
Everything sounds great except for the straight fact that you
miserable. I'd be miserable.
Imagine just looking around and there's a bunch of yous just like doing stuff all day.
It's you again.
Oh God,
it's me again. I don't understand this.
I'm imagining like a like Adam training ground, but it's just like a library, and everyone's just like frazzled and just sort of like bickering at each other.
I mean, like more realism, it would just be everyone sitting around playing NES, like old school. Like I would just have a million Super
cathode ray
Nintendos
tubes,
and Nintendo systems, like
DVs,
exactly, just learn through Final Fantasy,
and then some high.
You guys look like you're from Close Encounters.
Yes, some high concept conversations in the corners, some elevated voice arguments, and a very full bar.
Yes.
That series could be a lot of things for a lot of people.
But I was going to say, if we're going back to comics, I wonder if now that Jango Fett series in the comics is maybe teasing that the way they're going to take their main run is to actually go back and start filling in between things like episode 1 and episode 2. Right? Like they might actually do prequel era stuff instead of going past Return of the Jedi.
I'd love to see pre-clone era Jango Fett, like Mandalorian, like how does he get the Mandalorian armor, Jango Fett sort of stuff, and build up his own name.
You could have a Jango. You could have a Jango Fett series. You could have an Anakin and Obi-Wan series, ongoing series, right? You could just tell that story. I'm trying to think, like, if you want to do 4, like, what else could you do? Like, you could just have a bounty hunters. Yeah, you could have another Jedi series. You could have.
I would love to see Mace Windu's journey. He's kind of that connection piece.
Yeah,
High Republic.
You could have a Palpatine series, right? Like that would replace the Darth Vader series, right? Like what's Palpatine?
I don't know. That would have to be gritty though. You couldn't.
But you're right.
You couldn't have it be a Mos Espa, party.
So this would be plotting Palpatine / Sidious series. That's got legs, buddy. Like pre-Darth Vader, like his machinations in the Senate and all of his backroom dealings. That's kind of a good call.
The best. That would have to be the greatest series of all time, though. You'd basically have to devise all the planning behind controlling
him romancing Dooku, right? Like, and I literally mean romancing. Yeah. Like 11 party.
Like
so
let's
talk
party?
about
Sorry,
Darth
I missed
Vader.
that. Okay,
don't worry about it. Move on. I can't do it. It was a good explicit. Do not Google lemon party.
Event.
Okay, all right. I was about to Google it, but now I guess I won't.
That might be I'm most ashamed I've ever been on this.
I can see that. That's great. I was going to say something about Sly Moore, but whatever you said sounds way better.
Well, shame that I know
Lassa
this.
made it. That's for sure.
Boy, is the internet a real weird place. Let's talk about Darth Vader. Let's talk about weird places.
Darth Vader. Still, really crushing on Sabe.
So
yeah.
So let's talk about it. So we have two. Yeah, I mean, we gotta like. The thing is, I love Wat Tambor. He might be my favorite character in the prequel era. But what I realize is all I really, really love about him is him in live action and the way he talks. And so seeing them and reading them in comics is slightly less exciting.
When they're calculated and they're not adjusting their vocabulary every 10 minutes. Like, it's not fun.
That's the bit, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have two kind of runs in Darth Vader. We have what I wrote as the corruption of the Handmaiden, which is 29 to 34, which also that's 5 issues that continues from a previous 5 issues or something wild. Like, this is a long run they did with the Sabe stuff. And then there's a 2-part, which we might get a little more juice out of, the Target Afra mini kind of 2-parter. But let's talk Handmaidens for a little bit.
All right, there are handmaidens.
Yeah, there's many.
No, there's
Yeah,
some dead
there
air.
are handmaidens, and they're trying to stay Sabe, and Sabe's got this like 4D chess thing trying to. I kind of forget. It's like she's
Dorme and Sabe, I think, are the first two we're introduced to, and they're kind of one has snuck aboard the Executor, and then Sabe is actually going to kill Jewel Tambor, and it's basically like a battle for the soul of Sabe's morality.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like that's what battle of the heart sort of storyline for Sabe. In particular. So the other handmaidens are like, you're good.
Vader.
Like, don't fall to the dark side.
Right. Yeah. So she tries to leverage Vader to help her with her mission. I mean, which leads to some of the greatest like costume design in Star Wars. Like all the various like dark side Sabe like / could have been Padme outfits. I just really enjoy.
That's the thing, right? This feels like backward math, meaning that like George Pack, who is I think doing a really excellent job with Vader. Like I will say, I'll just be a full honestly, this run with the Handmaidens, not my favorite. Prior to this and post to this, I really like what he's doing with it. But it seems like he was just like, oh, dark Padme, that's such a great idea, which is like a cool idea, right? And then it's just like, how do we make that happen in real life? And then it's like, oh, we got the Handmaids. You can almost like see the math and the wheels turning to get to this, and it feels somewhat a little forced. And part of this feels a little bit from like these series made me actually really want to reread the E.K. Johnston series, like the Handmaiden books, which like I feel like if you maybe hadn't read those books, these comics would have worked better, but it felt weird. They they referred a lot of stuff that happened in these books, but then it felt like, I don't know, it felt disconnected to me in some weird way. Like I felt like I don't know what these characters are.
I like Greg Pak's run in Darth Vader so far.
I love his use of flashbacks.
I love the flashbacks. I love how they, they sort of explore the suffering and basically or power, basically when you have hate, you experience, or anger, it leads to suffering or it leads to power. Is sort of like what the mantra is that Vader keeps talking about throughout this entire part, which I love. And I love the flashbacks and explore that with Yoda and Palpatine. It's very, very cool. I just thought the strange part to me was just the Handmaidens are like, yeah, we'll join you, Darth Vader, even though you're like trying to get Sabe to kill thousands of people, and like you're just clearly a horrible person. And it's just like I just thought the Handmaidens would be still trying to kill him constantly, because on that movie they initially tried to kill him, which I loved, the Amidala sort of arc, and I'm just confused as to why they would help him at all. And so that's the only confusion.
So I need clarification on this, because I read this. This is the last series I reread today, and so I'll admit, when you're in the 30th issue of the 30 some odd issues of comics you're reading in a day, or however many, you might start to like lose your focus a little bit. So there's a scene where they talk about from that series that you mentioned, Grant, the Handmaidens. I can't remember what they call it. You named it.
The Amidalans, I think, early.
The Amidalans, yeah. They had like hacked Vader's suit, right? Basically, there was
like a big plot to kill him, or something.
Yeah,
horrible. Yeah,
and so it seems like they agreed to join him because it would allow them to get the Sabe, but they still had the upper hand of they could kind of like pull the kill switch. But that seemed to be forgotten or never discussed again. Did I miss where that that plot?
No, they would just never kill 1,000 people on the Executive.
Oh, right. Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why?
Like, why do it in the first place? Why not just try to kill him or space him or something?
As a pacifist, as a self-described pacifist in the Star Wars world, if I had the opportunity to blow up 1,000 people and kill Darth Vader and other people,
it's like 100,000 people.
I have to
would destroy
100,000 people in a galaxy of trillions. I have to say, it would at least give me a few more panels.
Imperial bootlickers.
The hundreds of thousands of deaths on Luke's hands.
That's the other thing.
Doesn't really sense at all. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just saying. But thank you for reminding me why that. Because now you mentioned, I'm like, that's what. Okay. So it was addressed. Fine.
Yeah, sure. But then they help him. But then Jewel Tambor basically is nefarious, and sort of he's outed by Sabe, and then I don't know. It's just Sabe's trying to save as many people as she can, but just sort of feigning that she's this dark sider with Vader, and that's sort of what I got from this issue, and it seems like that's still happening. Essentially,
that's still the case because like at the very end, she so there's a whole thing where it's very similar to what's starting at the beginning of the Dr. Aphra we talked about way at the beginning of this, where it's just like backstabbing, plotting, double cross, triple cross type of thing, where basically Sabe is figuring out that I'm going to call him Wat Tambor because I can't call him Jules Tambor. He's like Wat Tambor the third to me.
He is Wat.
Apparently, there's a Wat Tambor the second.
His name was Wat Jewel Tambor, and he took his middle name, but he's Wat Tambor the third.
Because here's the thing, I have this question. So in now in continuity, you have Wat Tambor. You have Wat Tambor the second. Why don't you just go with Wat Tambor?
That's too on the nose, Adam. That'd be too on the nose.
It.
It has to be.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be the second son. The scrappy.
Sure. So Jewel
Tambor.
Whatever. So basically, like Jewel, right? He's like trying to convince the people under him
all the time
to rebel. Basically, yeah.
That joke was bad.
Yeah. But I do like the twist at the end where basically Sabe records him saying, "Yes, I let them die, and I'm going to do this because I'm going to rule." And it turns out, but then it ends in such a really down note of just like, well, everyone's horrible, right? Like it's just a weird note of just.
I read it kind of differently. Firstly, so when Sabe finally extricates the rest of the handmaidens from Vader and then has to leave them to go back to help him. She concocts this great gambit to expose Jewel Tambor as not a rebellion leader.
Yeah, totally.
And I thought that was very clever. And she brings it to Vader, which is like the other thing. And he's like, there's just like some great bits. And she's like, no. Like now, like if I had killed him, he just would have been a martyr. And now we've exposed him and he has no power and he's out there and we've accomplished and we didn't kill anybody. And now they still have the hope for peace. And Vader just goes, order. Yeah, it was
order. I love that little moment of order. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was great. Yeah. And then,
it was good.
And he tries to fight for her soul, but really, I think he just wants to smash. And I don't know, and he's like rebuffed.
He just wants to clasp hands together and just rule the galaxy. That's what he wants.
Yeah. I mean, he wants that missing part of him, back. That his love and like whatever and. Yeah, I mean, and who knows if she had actually gone to his side and she is that like what if statement, like what if Padme was like, you know what, ride or die, I'm with you, and like what could have happened, and so he's trying to like actualize that possible future, and he's just, but she's as much as she's on his side, she keeps being like, you're worthless, I hate you, I'm out.
Wait, can we talk about that moment where Vader goes into her mind or basically causes a force vision, and then Padme gets to meet Luke for like a hot second. It's like but insane like canon stuff.
But the craziest thing about that is that so she like sees the future because she's on Endor. They're on Endor,
right?
When she's killing Luke and Han and Leia because it's a wooded thing. They're in
they are.
They're in their garb. So she's seeing the future. Like this force. It's a force. Yeah. It is a force vision through her of her, like how the world would have turned out if she does end up going with Vader. Like she would have been there on Endor and
and this was in my headcanon. This was Vader was able to do this because of one of these Fermata waves, right? For lack of a better term.
Sure,
where
that
he
makes
could
sense.
just like suddenly conjure this, like just like imbue her with a force and take, like he's his own force cave, like dark force cave, like kind of. That was a wild.
There's a couple crazy cryptic reads in there too. It's like you see the blue being that was on Mustafar when he was God, what was the series finale for that one where basically he confronts his like the whole past and has all these visions and sort of reborn at his castle.
I think you're confusing that with Luke with the Star Wars series when Luke Luke sees two visions in the red crystal.
Luke has that.
And the first one is that weird Sith lady, and then he goes into like Darth Vader's like dark meditation place, and he's an all blue character, but his arm's missing, just like it is with Vader, and he's like, "Where am I?" And then he just gets like sucked out. Like
It's
That's
so
cool,
cool.
yeah.
Like all these
But
missions.
also,
nod.
to go all the way back to Star Wars, in the Star Wars run where he's doing all that too, he does have a conversation with Yoda that actually appears to be a real conversation that happened with Yoda, right? Because he leaves, Luke
Yoda's
leaves,
alive.
Yoda's still there, and Obi-Wan shows up. Well, yeah, because we're in Empire.
Yeah, Yoda's sitting on a tree. It seems like
he's in Dagobah.
Yeah.
Just on Dagobah. Yeah.
He's in Dagobah, right? Because we're in Empire era, so he's still alive. Which I love that part of just like where Yoda's like, you haven't come to see me, bro. Like clearly, like you have things that you're working on. I love that moment of it explains why.
Yeah, he's like, why weren't you there for me when I called out for you?
He's like, I'm right here.
And Yoda's like, why haven't I'm right here? You know where I live. You have to come to me, bro.
It's like your mom that's just like, I don't know, pick up a phone. I'm right there. Or like, like come see me. You know where I live.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I don't know. That was just a little wild because it made me do some like mental gymnastics about it. I'm like, why haven't you just like, but he was like,
why didn't you immediately go there after your hand was
like why didn't you deal with that? And then
and then no, instead you wait till I'm on death's door to come visit me.
Just like the ungrateful son he is.
Yeah, when you think about it, you're like, what?
Yeah.
You're teaching sacred texts when Yoda's on Dagobah?
Yoda's like, you found a sacred text.
You have like the ultimate.
Yeah, he's like,
I've
cool,
written
text.
And he's like, nice.
We
I've
be
written
hanging
10
right now. I just put a pot of stew on the stove. Like we could be hanging out.
We could be chilling, bro. All right. Anywho,
Target Afra.
What?
All right.
Oh, Target Afra.
Target Afra. Right.
Stories of Spartan Eternal.
Right.
Yeah, it's the Afra crossover or Afra popping up. Okay. Two quick things, and then we could. I love how much Afra is terrified of Vader. I just love that element of that. Like, I think that is such a cool thing of just like, yes, a normal human who's not part of the rebellion or anything else would be terrified anytime they interact with Vader and think they're at their death's door.
Because her like survival instinct kicked in, and it's great that it came full circle.
Remember when she got spaced and he remember when we were out in the vacuum? I forget what issue was that. Spurrier?
Because that's her greatest fear.
That was
I think that's Spurrier.
Yeah, that was.
God, that was so good.
Vader has like tortured her like really bad. Like she has full blown, understandable PTSD when she sees Vader, which is just not like, again, it's not saying in terms of like real life that would be horrible, but for storytelling, that's really great. Like in terms of that's a really interesting aspect between those characters.
Sure.
I'm just gonna also say I am not loving the heavy metal version of Vader with a club and a shield. How do you guys feel about that?
I want to know, Grant, I really don't like how do you feel about
this? You like it?
Shield?
Grant, tell me.
Kyberite.
A Kyberite shield that shoots blasts.
Vader with a staff and a shield. I thought about you specifically when we got this Vader variant because you've been calling for Vader variants, and this isn't like a new armor.
I want like. Yeah, I was thinking the armor could change up in dramatic ways because it's just different terrain, you know? Like, I just thought the armor could
like
shift
Iron Man.
And new schemes almost, but it's cool to have costume design everywhere.
So you get this, though. That's what I'm saying.
I don't really need new accoutrements or weapons. Like, this does seem a little medieval and sort of, I don't know if that's the way you want to take. He almost looks like it's like an Urukai shield. If you know that
it is an Urukai shield. Nice.
And then it's a giant base, basically, like
it's a staff. Oh, you're reading Two Towers. Someone's reading Two Towers.
Nice. There we go.
I can't see where it is. Oh, is that towards the end?
There we go.
Right there. I've almost finished Two Towers.
So you're in Helm's Deep?
Weekend. Sorry, we'll talk. Past Helm's Deep. You guys are right. It's awesome. I love it. We'll continue talking off air. Yeah.
We've got some IP pitches for that, too.
Sorry.
Anyways, I like the design of him with the shield and the
sure,
but it's too powerful. Like he blows up a starship with like a beam from like
blasts.
Okay, I thought this was a melee
power
weapon.
bolts out of it.
Like
I had to read those panels like 4 times because I was like, "What is?" And then I was like, "Oh, so he's can't trust the Force, so he created like a power baton, and I think it's a full staff actually." Because they even say like, oh, he's weak, he's leaning on a staff, but it's like no, like that. And I was like, oh, he created this thing, and it wasn't until later that I was like, oh, it's because he can't count on the Force.
Is this set up for dark droids? Where
yes,
that
was just a funny bit.
I mean, that was great. Like I love that part of the Kyberite. Like every time I read, I hear him go like, "Pachoo, patoo, patoo, like shooting these like force blasts. It just looks like something you would have like an old
Doesn't
He-Man
he shoot Ochi
action figure.
He like instantly shoots Ochi. He's like,
I do love
boom. Ochi is just
He
comic
is.
relief.
He is
in
a
this comic.
stooge.
So hilarious.
But I'm actually kind of here for it. I thought
don't
he
hate
was
it.
hilarious. I thought it was hilarious in this run, like this end of it, and he's just there, and he is just like
he was very Deadpool. He's very
Yes,
Deadpool.
yes.
I have to say,
He is,
Like,
yeah.
he is Deadpool. He's even drawn like Deadpool in certain scenes, and not even Deadpool in the comics per
I know
se,
what
but
you mean.
Deadpool.
right,
from-
like his eye holes change like emotions and stuff during certain. I love that like both Aphra and Vader are like, nope, you're going down. They just kick him
I
in
do
the hole
love that.
first.
That's great.
Oh
yeah.
my god! And he's like running, and he's
Yeah.
setting off all the traps.
He's like pulling an arrow out of his eye socket. He's like,
They're like, oh yeah, that's something venom, and he's like pulling out his like his like his pack of
I just
serums.
takes off his helmet. He's like looks like an absolute like monster
That's the
movie,
thing.
like
So,
Swamp
can
Thing.
we talk
Like,
about this?
it is so crazy that like that's what he is.
He's the guy from Hannibal that like ate his own face. That's what he looks like.
Oh right.
Yes. Is that? That's
I forgot that.
thought about that.
You guys suppress
true.
that memory? Sorry, there it is.
Yeah.
Remember that again.
Now I'm thinking Ray Liotta eating his own brain. It's all coming back to me. So I was gonna say, so the thing is, it's so weird to think about how Ochi is treated in these comics, because I enjoy that character in these comics, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is the guy who kills Ray's parents.
Yeah.
Which is weird, right? That this guy ends up being, and Shadow of the Sith does a pretty good job of like explaining his insanity and getting to that point and like whatever. But it's really weird to have this
that dagger that basically makes him crazy.
like
thirst
for blood and talk to you. But it's so weird to go like, this is this guy to like a pivotal point in Star Wars history.
Right.
Like, it's weird.
Yeah, it's just like, well, I don't know. He's just going to be comic relief in this, like whatever he is later.
Which I enjoy.
Yeah. But he is fun
sure.
like that. And I love that they keep banging the same drum. They do this with all the characters artfully, but he's just like, I'm just going to stay closest to the strongest man in the universe. Or the galaxy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It's strange because Ochi of Bastoon sounds like a total serial character in his own right, like a Dr. Aphra almost. Like Ochi of Bastoon could have probably been like a series because it's catchy, like Dr. Aphra. It's got a catchiness.
It's almost as catchy as Ot-6, Captain of the Droid Crush of Bastoon. He's the guy leading it.
Who's that? Is that Jewel Tambor's droid? The giant.
No, this
thing?
is when they move.
We talk about
that thing is the Kool-Aid man, because eventually it just says, "Oh yeah," like at one point, and then it's also
really?
just the coolest.
I never put those two together, but now that I think he is definitely the Kool-Aid droid. G90, baby. He's a real G.
Yes.
I love that.
G90. I've never had a character roll onto a comic page so quickly for me to be like, no.
Really, this is like my
Dude,
favorite droid
G90
No.
is a G.
Remember?
He was like,
Hey, you know what? I used to think Dio was the worst droid ever, and now it's this one.
Bro.
So
it just looks like a giant
number one, take it up.
G90 or whatever. It's right.
No, it's like it's just
really.
a ball. It's a
It's
giant
ball.
boulder.
Yeah.
It's just a ball.
But
It's just a
dude,
ball.
they're like, oh,
It is just a ball, but that makes me laugh. Honestly, for it to roll and then maybe its head like
Pops out.
protrudes slightly, like that is a
So
funky
it felt.
blocking situation.
So here's the thing. Once again, that's why I do this podcast, because one of you says something and I'm like, oh no, it's fine. Like you save it because I'm like, oh, that's right. Like I love BB-8, and it's just a giant ball with a thing on top of his head. So it's the same thing.
I love the design. It's hilarious.
So fine. All right, it's fine. I'm back.
So he has the funniest line.
I do
all of
love
this.
that it keeps getting chopped in half.
This droid would be
Yeah.
clumsy.
Yeah.
This droid would.
So they have this like funny triptych sequence in there, and I guess I'm getting to the end of this Darth Vader run where it's like the droids are plotting their revenge against Darth Vader. Z90 and all that.
The ones who have all been damaged by him before.
So there's a lot of good bits, but it's kind of a triptych. They're like, well, first step is this, and they're like, oh, and then we can until we get to this part, and then we do this, and it's sort of them like plotting, and then things happening in real time. They're like, and so what we do is we send out a vanguard, and we use G90 to block all the things, and then they flash to G90 getting all of like Vader's like force fire on himself, and the caption he just goes, I hate this. And
G90 is the best droid ever.
And it's like, I just imagine like Bill Hader voicing him or something. Like, I don't know. It's just sort of.
It's just such a good. I thought this was one of those standout characters.
Sorry. You had to come at
It's
G90.
just a giant ball. Again, it's a droid that's basically like a a 10-foot ball.
He's
like it's
he's the droid Boulder from Indiana Jones. Like it's like well,
yes, exactly. Yeah,
you know what? Now all I want is an episode or an issue of Dr. Afro where she's raiding a tomb and suddenly G90's rolling down on top of her,
defending the tomb,
and then I'd be like, all right, okay. Mission accomplished.
That was right there.
Like, this is why you've introduced this character. Just
it's a
for
long
this gag,
setup.
and now I'm on board.
Yeah,
it's a long setup. Exactly.
Oh man, so funny. So funny.
This is what I also love too is like I love how I see this thing and I'm like, this is the worst. Everyone must hate this thing. And I love this. Why I do this podcast because we're all so different things. And both of you are like, this is great. I'm like, you know what? Awesome. That's great. Because like, no, because literally, because like, it makes me feel better of just like, no, it's not this like, you know, there's no accounting for taste, right?
Absolutely.
And
I stand by
it makes me
my
feel
lack
happy
of
when
taste.
it makes me feel happy that there's rarely a thing that all three of us will be like, that's the worst thing we've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
Like one of us at least likes it, which I'm like, then it works, right? Like if you got at least one out of three
let's
of us,
let's face
works.
it, we are just one demographic, but at least we do have slightly varying opinions and different backgrounds. But like, and we can only imagine the other demographics that are out there that have a million different other opinions about.
Who equally hate or love or more hate than everything that we love or hate.
It's strange to see this droid in live action. Like I'm kind of with you, Adam, that it would be like, what?
I
This
know.
thing
That's
takes
the
up
thing.
half the screen, and like I don't even know where its head is, and it just seems like a ridiculous design. But from the wide shots that you get in these panels, like it works. Like it almost has to be a super wide shot.
I appreciate it. I love that you like it.
Yeah.
No.
He looks great in those like shots of like all your heroes in a row because it just like it's visually like it just there's so much variance. I can't say enough good things about this ridiculous design. And there's just so much.
What was this droid made for originally?
Who cares?
What was his? Okay,
we do. I'm kidding. We might even know. So he's part of that crew. Of weird crew. God, like one of those ensembles, right? And they were
one of the many groups that think they're going to kill Darth Vader. But
I
you know what?
He wasn't part of the Droid Crush. That was the leader, which he looks like he belongs in the Droid Crush. But
because I'm like, we're the Droid Crush, and
he was like the only droid in like a group of like killer assassins that just get like steamrolled by Vader. Like they get used for a mission or two. 10 issues back, but he is a reoccurring character. But I don't remember his backstory, sadly.
I don't either. I will slowly Google as we do this, but I'm trying to like figure out how to even get there. But so one of the things that is starting to somewhat bug me in the Darth Vader series, and I think we've had numerous issues of like we've had the Amidala go after Vader. We've had that droid. We've had that group of assassins. I know you're talking about, Ben. I can't think of go after them. We have the droids go after them. We have Wat Tambor's grandson go after him, and it's just like, so there's some of the problem with you of telling like a prequel story, like you can't kill Vader, but also even if there wasn't a prequel, like let's say they wrote this between episodes, whatever. None of them are going to be successful. So I just need us to move away from this. This group thinks they've figured out how to kill Darth Vader storyline. Right. It just is not compelling to me personally.
Yeah, like I thought Darth Vader was searching for, ancient relics and Sith secrets in his own way. But Emperor Palpatine never lets him do that.
It should all be Palpatine and Vader.
A trope in their storyline, which is that Palpatine's actually the one restricting him. It wasn't the Jedi Council holding him back. It's always been Palpatine keeping him.
Have we talked about Sly Moore showing up?
Oh no, we didn't talk about Sly Moore.
Yeah, getting I
love a good Sly Moore cameo.
The Force Wave hitting her.
Oh my God, I'm trying to read about G90, but the site is glitching on Wikipedia, and it keeps glitching to the top as soon as I scroll down. Are you doing this too?
It's not even written.
It's not working. Like I feel like it's just so. How did you Google G90?
G90 Wikipedia. I just wrote G90 Wikipedia.
I'm actually,
and if you can,
I'm using the actual.
I can't. It won't resolve. Like it's the most frustrating thing I've ever seen. There's a pop up that comes up, and then it resets to the top of the screen, and I like literally
just crashes.
And it just crashes.
Right, I know Wikipedia,
and I keep doing it, expecting it to change, but like it won't change.
All right, we got to end this.
Oh
pod.
my God! Sorry,
are we going to do that? Are we going to land this?
We're never going to end it. So I appreciate Wikipedia. I appreciate you got to make your money. I get it, but you got to knock it off with the pop-ups. Like every time I enter your site, I have to restart my computer the next day because
I'm looking up on the fandom.
Wikipedia is broken.
Yeah.
I've made my own data bank, guys. I'll share it. It's thorough.
I mean, all right. Can you share your page on G90?
I don't have that yet. No, I don't have some of the deep.
I just want to know what type of droid. It's just a droid. It doesn't even tell us what type of droid this thing is.
What if it's like an early BB unit? It's like the first one, so it's like they downsize. The hardware only fits in that size ball, and then the form factor shrinks.
You know what else is annoying? Sorry, now we're just like a griping old man podcast. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
is they phonetically spell out the like call signs of droids?
I know,
and like why? I come from a world of microphones, and every microphone is a different series of letters. This is an RE20. There's a 414 over there. There's an SM58. Everyone knows what it is, and you just use the letters, and it's like why can't we just do that with droids?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't mind it when you're reading in a book or a comic where they write it out phonetically, so you can think about like, is it G90 or G90? But Ben, you're absolutely right. Like these pages are by. I love that we spent the last 5 minutes pulling apart Wikipedia, which we owe so much of our time to.
I know.
But I'll just say like, it is weird because that's not what his name is. His name is the letter G.
Yeah.
And 90. That is his name. And yet it's written everywhere as G90. That's really weird. Anyway, reading this page, Grant's just left.
Grant's gone.
He's done.
He's gone. He's like, I don't need to know this stuff. So I did finally get this thing up.
Yeah, I got it too. There's not much though.
No, they don't even say the name of his like group.
That's what I was gonna say.
Which was like that. Like that's all I wanted. It's anti-imperial.
He's just part of the bounty or the Assassins Guild. It says.
Yeah, they were a bunch of assassins, and they were hired by Crimson Dawn, which everyone was in this era.
That's right.
Minor, he was destroyed by Sabe. Oh yeah, they don't even. No, there's nothing here. So sorry, all of that, and they don't even say why or how he was built, but.
Why or what he is, but I will say Skako Minor.
He has geode level like Riz, so I think he will. I think we might find out more of him. And also maybe. Meg posted a great picture. It's like APC something. I can't even credit it, but there's a geode book end.
Oh really?
And it's like.
That's amazing. I missed that post.
It's very recent. So check out Star Wars book reviews and check out.
I must have just missed it.
Meg's post on that. It's this beautiful, like elegant, like she has a room just full of books, but she made this like really elegant little like setup with her new High Republic books and this geode bookend that was amazing.
That's awesome. I love geode. I'm hoping we're gonna get more of geode soon. Yeah, I will say Skako Minor. Is always my favorite possible name of a Star Wars planet. Every time I hear it, it always makes me chuckle. I don't know why.
It sounds like Skanko Minor or something. Like it's like a planet of all.
I think we're on the junk moon of Skako Minor too, right?
Yeah.
At one point,
it's
it's
all Scotland.
Yeah, I think that's where. Yeah. Well, maybe there you go. Maybe that's why I like it.
It's just a bunch of Scott people.
I just re-upped my. My annual record club payment this morning to Bad Time Records.
Oh, good.
Your best purveyor of modern ska records. Check them out. They're sold out. So sorry, no one can get them. But
so for all the people that are now listening to this podcast, the sub demo that also love ska, they're going to be thrilled.
I think if you check that math out, that somehow equals 1/10 of one of our listeners.
Yeah, right.
Is the ska fan.
Ska fan.
All right.
So
moving on, what's happening?
That's like it's like 0.5 quadrant.
Did we do all of these? Are we missing a comic, or did we do all 4?
Nope. We did them all.
I can't believe
we got them all,
and in just probably under 2 hours. Hour and 45. We're great, or probably hour and 15. So we're
perfect.
Good.
That's a short one.
Yeah. It was a breeze, but I mean, these stories were great. The Star Wars run is like, if you're gonna read one comic, I don't know. I shouldn't even be saying this. They're all fabulous, but there's a lot of great stuff in the Star Wars comic. The Darth Vader stuff is always well written. It's always on point. Like, you really feel like you're there with Vader. You know.
Yeah. But I will kind of echo what you're saying and say what you're trying not to say, which is just like, I feel like the Star Wars main run is the one that is the most consistent for me in terms of like, it hasn't dipped for me. And like, while Dr. Aphra is probably my favorite character in the Star Wars comic universe, like that Spark Eternal line, kind of like I was just a little like not super invested in that. I'm back now with Star Wars.
I think what I was trying to say was, if you just care about Star Wars lore, like you just want the juicy tweener bits, like about like about the main characters and like things that involve the feature films, Star Wars is your thing.
Luke, Leia, Lando. You get so much with your main characters.
Aphra is just brilliant on its own right and can stand on its two legs and go on all these adventures. And it's great when you get a main character cameo, but.
Yeah, but it is disconnected in the way that like I think it's worth reading, but you're not going to feel like you're missing anything necessarily other than really good writing. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? But exactly, like, yeah, if you're gonna like, again, you should read them all. Yeah. It's not a heavy lift, but yeah, Star Wars will be the one that like takes you from point A to point B, being between Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is when I'd round it up, and usually I do last call, and particularly for Grant, because I know he's always sitting on some like giant thing that he's going to talk about like endlessly as soon as we stop the podcast. But he seems to be needed elsewhere. But
yeah,
I think we did it, guys. Right? I think Adam,
I think so.
We did it.
Yeah.
there's nothing else. We
shouldn't
keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to thank everyone for listening to us and just say, hey, it was great. Actually, well. Adam, next week, are we going to talk about a book or are we going to talk about comics?
I'd like to. Let's vary it up. Let's talk about a book. We got options. We got two options for books, basically. We got Crimson Climb, which is the YA, which I think is E.K. Johnson, who we mentioned earlier, which is the Kira story, basically, I think, between
Solo.
Or like between the mid part of Solo, right? Like, how'd she get into Crimson Dawn? How'd she connect with all of those people?
And Dresden Voss. Dryden Voss.
Yeah, Dryden Voss. We also have the High Republic anthology. That one we might want to hold off for a little bit because The Eye of Darkness, which is the first new novel in the High Republic for Phase 3, is coming out this coming Tuesday. But we definitely want to give our listeners a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'd like to go
to read
I'd
that.
Like to go hard at High Republic when we go on it. Like, I'd love to just
so maybe do like back-to-back weeks of like 1 week we do the Tales of Light and Life and as a kind of like a lead-in, and then do Eye of Darkness. So maybe Crimson Climb next week.
Okay,
and then chit-chat about other stuff. Like, I don't know if that'll be a full ep. I mean, it'll probably be, but we can talk about other random stuff too.
All right. We got Grant back, so I'm going to give him a chance. Last call. What are you thinking about that we haven't talked about, or are you good?
I'm good. I think we covered most everything. As far as jumping on any one of these series, I agree with you, Ben. I think Star Wars main run is like, it's just got all the fun bits about the main ensemble. Yeah. But I'm loving all the series.
Yeah.
All great.
Me too. It's been...
Star Weird with Aphra is awesome. Definitely check out that issue. If there's one issue I would check out, I would say that issue.
Super great.
Totally.
Rad, man. Great job. Fun talking to y'all about this. Thanks for listening. We will be back at it next week with covering, Kira and her rise to power in Crimson Climb. So that's going to be rad. We will talk to you next week on
Cantina Chronicles.